All right. Okay, hello everyone again. My name is Colleen Smith. I'm the coordinator for digital learning and advising and academic advancement programs. Today we're going to talk about building your academic portfolio. So before we get started, I'm going to let Brian introduce himself.
Hey everyone, I'm Brian Medina, a McNair Scholar and Senior here at the University of Central Florida studying studying computer science, math, and cognitive science. And yeah, I'll be helping out. If you have any questions, I'll be in the chat addressing them.
Awesome, thank you so much. All right, so sharing the presentation now. Well, if I know how to move forward. So academic advancement programs helps prepare underrepresented low-income and first-generation college students to pursue graduate school. So we mostly work with students who are undergraduate students at UCF, but some of you, like our friend from UGA, have been able to find our workshops. So we're happy to have you at our workshops. Just know that some of the resources that we might talk about today is more geared towards UCF students, but I'm sure there are plenty of resources at your own institution as well. This is our AAP family. You can see our director, assistant director, and then our two coordinators, along with our graduate staff and our peer leadership team. So academic advancement programs has a few things going on. For those of you who this is your first workshop with us, we do have structured programs called RAMP and McNair. McNair Scholars, this is the first time, strike that rather, McNair and RAMP applications have actually already lapsed. So they normally go out at the end of the summer and then they close by the end of the fall semester in order to start that. So we had just finished that application cycle. So it'll be the next year before we do this. But in general, McNair Scholars are for students who are looking into a PhD program, and RAMP, Research and Mentoring Program, are students who are looking into a graduate or a doctorate degree and are looking to get some undergraduate research experience before they get there. We have workshops, which you all know because you're here. Congratulations. We also have some pre-grad advising available. So Brian, do you want to tell us a little bit about what a pre-grad advisor does?
Yeah, so I'm guessing you guys are here in this workshop, and so you might have some questions about the whole graduate application process, whether that be building a portfolio or writing a personal statement or getting letters of rec. Anything you might have that might have some bearing on the graduate application process. The pre-grad advisors like myself, you can schedule an appointment with us, and we can definitely help talk with you and like kind of help guide you in ways that will best benefit benefit you in the grad app process. So basically, we're at service to you.
Yeah. I love it. So then we also have a couple of events, one in the fall semester, the Grad Prep Intensive, and then one in the spring semester, the Grad School Prep Academy, that basically surrounds applications for graduate school or a summer research program. Then we also have graduate school visits. Like we actually have one today that's happening at noon Eastern Standard Time. So we will be having UPenn graduate school coming to join us today for our virtual grad school visit. And then also we have advising and support. So what we like to talk about AAP is that we're really a family and that we like to operate as such. So if you all do have any questions, you basically meet with a pre-grad advisor, you come to a workshop. It only takes one time to be a part of the AAP family. So congrats, you're now a part of it. As you all know, we have our online workshops, and then this just kind of shows who our AAP pre-grad advisors are. Now, please do keep in mind that our AAP pre-grad advisors are for students at UCF or alumni from UCF. But we have 20 hours a week to see you all. And we also are having application hours this afternoon. So from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can actually sign up to, or RSVP. Brian, can you drop that link in the chat for us to just kind of drop in and out. It's a super informal way just to have some accountability, and everyone is working on their applications at that time. So whether it's grad school applications, summer research applications, funding applications, you name it, all you have to do is drop into the Zoom, ask a couple of questions. It's really informal. So you can just be there to be like, hey, I'm here, I'm working on this application, and this application. And it's just a way to kind of stay accountable. All right. If you have any other questions, or if you want to take a look at the workshop flyer, you can always go to tinyurl.com/AAP fall 2020. So before we move forward, we wanted to go over the differences between graduate school and professional school in terms of UCF's outlook. Now, this is our operating definition because it kind of helps us delineate who goes to pre-health and pre-law advising and who goes to academic advancement programs for advising. But just for future reference, which this workshop will help everybody. So we're not telling you, you must leave, you can't be a part of us. That's not the case. But just for right now, what we're trying to kind of start this information by is that graduate school for us is really a master's degree in something or a doctorate degree in something. That would be a Master of Science, a Master of Arts, and Master of Social Work, an MED, or a Doctor of Philosophy, which is a PhD, or a Doctorate in Education, an EDD. So in terms of professional school, which is sometimes called graduate school, but with our working definition, professional school would then be someone who wants to go to become a medical doctor or a DO or a dentist or a certified nurse assistant. Any of those pieces, that would then be those students who would need to go to pre-health and pre-law advising and make sure that you get the best advising there rather than come to academic advancement programs, because we're more geared towards the graduate programs like the master's and doctorate programs, like I said before. All right, and this is our grad school checklist. So just as an overall thought, this is what it takes to apply to a graduate program. So you need to be able to identify the graduate programs that you're interested in, whether that's a different institution or a different type of program. Then you need to be able to identify at least 3 to 5 letters of recommendation, depending on the programs that you're applying to. We also recommend you having a resume or a curriculum vitae or a CV on hand. Normally we say for those people who are applying for PhD programs, you want to have a curriculum vitae, which is just a long resume. If not, a resume is usually okay to apply to graduate school. The next piece on the list is admission statements. So some of you have heard of a personal statement, a statement of purpose, a letter of intent. This would be another piece to the graduate school application. And then maybe not right now, but usually an admissions test is usually required for a graduate school application. So right now the GRE, which is the graduate record examination, is being waived for a few schools. So definitely if you're applying to graduate school this year or next year, make sure that the GRE is required before you actually apply, because it could cost some money. And if we can save you money anywhere, then that would be great. And then last but not least are funding options. So we don't want many people to pay for graduate school. So we want to make sure that you can identify some funding options and what that looks like for graduate school. All right, Brian, do we have any questions before we move on to the actual content?
Nope. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to type in the chat.
Definitely. And then just, interrupt me because I can talk a mile a minute. All right, so what is an online academic portfolio? Some of this information comes from different institutions, but overall, it's an online portfolio where you can showcase different files, not just text, but pictures and video, to show some evidence of the academic drive that you have. So that can include writing samples or projects that you've worked on, something that showcases your creativity, your performance, or any type of evidence that you've done from extra or co-curricular activities. So that could be leadership, mentorship, undergraduate research, service learning, anything of that nature. But honestly, when it comes down to it, everyone for online academic portfolios are looking for your critical thinking skills. So evaluations, analyses, reflections, and recommendations. So it's not enough that you were just a mentor, because if let's say you make an online portfolio, right? And you basically just put everything that your resume has on there. It says, Brian Medina, I was a pre-grad advisor for academic advancement programs. Okay, cool. But what does that mean to you exactly? And that's where these reflections come in. And that's where this critical thinking nature, what you want to do is basically connect the dots for an admissions committee. So when they find your academic portfolio, that you're already saying how you are ready and how you've prepared for graduate school before they even look at your application. All right, so this is one of those times that I have a question for you. And if you'd like to answer, you can unmute your mic, or you can just put in the chat. I'm going to go ahead and open it up. But my question is, why is your academic portfolio important for grad school applications? Why do you think?
It gives admission committees like a snapshot of who you are and potentially what your success rate would be, or at least if you would be successful in their graduate program.
Exactly. They want to see that you have skills and you've been working on it, that you're motivated, that you have drive. And that helps them feel a little bit better in admitting you, because they're like, oh, they're already halfway there. They're going to keep going. No worries. Right? Agreed. Good job. Elizabeth, yeah, so it's kind of an advertisement. It's kind of a way for you to sell yourself without you having to do really any of the work. So it's a time efficiency, right? As much as it is like selling yourself. Good, good. Anything else? Brian, why do you think an academic portfolio is important?
To me, I think it's important because, like, I don't know, it's an academic portfolio, at least for me, is like a way to show, to like give personality to like the CV or application that you submit. Like, there's a person behind that application. It's you, and like one of the few ways that you can show that is by, you know, putting time into your academic portfolio and really making it and tuning it to best represent who you are, like, as a person.
I love that. It's a personal story, right? It's all about you, and that's the whole point of it. Love it. Yeah, so Andy, we'll get into the different type of academic portfolios, definitely. So, all right, I love the conversation that we're having, but we're going to move forward, okay? So getting into kind of what Elizabeth was talking about is that your digital reputation is almost like a shared or collective perceptive. Oh my goodness, I can't talk, you guys. Perception about yourself. It's been a week. Yes. Okay. So a shared reputation. So basically, it's not what you think of yourself. It's what other people taking a look at what's going on is that shared perspective of you, right? So if what you're putting out there is not yourself, kind of going back to Brian's idea, then you're not really making sure that you're kind of maintaining your reputation out in the academic world, right? So what we want to do is start creating instead of just consuming things. So this research is a little bit outdated, but it gets to my point where that it shows that many people are consumers of social media and information right now and not really producers. So the way we keep you all and make sure that you're competitive applicants is that you start producing information and media and pieces in order to maintain your reputation. So you're a step forward and a step ahead of everybody, because you're then able to control that narrative and that story about yourself. All right. So do me a favor, everyone go ahead and open up another browser and Google your name. Go ahead, I'll be here, no worries. What are you noticing? What's popping up? Go ahead and put it in the chat for us. I mean, you don't have to put the link in, but is it social media? Is it LinkedIn? Okay, Facebook. Is it a website that you were mentioned on by getting a scholarship? Research lab. That's great, Stephanie. Your Twitter page, Andy. Okay. And that's really important because something that admissions committees do actually is that they just Google your names. If you have some common name, like I have Smith as my last name, you might have to put like UCF or like the institution that you're affiliated with in order to like get down to your actual name. But I'm hoping that most of us have unique names. YouTube, that's a new one. Yeah, so think about what this person on the admissions committee is seeing and that reputation that they're sort of perceiving you have because of that collective collated information from Google. Oh, nice. Jennifer's already got an ePortfolio. Get it. All right, so this is one of my students, Giselle. She is now amazing graduate student currently in chemistry. So what you see at first is that she's in a research group. You have 1, 2, 3 professional pictures of her. This is her best friend, but you know, it's close. It's basically the same person, right, Brian? And then you see her LinkedIn, and then you see her STARS portfolio, being a McNair student. So in like graphic design and like web page design, you always want to put the most important thing on the top of the fold, is what they call it, because you know people used to have newspapers and read them, and it would be folded. So the very top of the fold you would see. For computers, it's like before you start scrolling, you want to make sure everything is there that you want people to see at the very top, right? Before you have to scroll. Because there's this really awesome book called Don't Make Me Think by Steve Grad, and he's kind of the usability expert, where he's like, people just don't want to think when they go online, and they don't want to think when they use computers. So you make it as easy as possible. So how is it that you all can make it as easy as possible for an admissions committee member to Google you and then see all the amazing things that you do without even scrolling, right? And that is going to be our goal for today. All right, so before we get started on the academic portfolio, there's a couple of other things that you can kind of create within your real life world, and then also kind of connect that to your online world. And then that will then bleed into your ePortfolio. And one of those things is called a personal or professional learning network. Now, this can be an informal learning network. This can be a formal learning network. It's really up to you. For example, I am a part of a professional learning network, but mostly on Twitter, because it's easy to have a conversation through a hashtag. You can also be a part of professional Slack channels. You can be a part of a professional Reddit page or conversation. It depends on how you will make that work for yourself, and it depends on your field and all that good stuff. So there's a way to do that offline. And part of that is joining student organizations that also have a chapter in a professional organization that's a national chapter, perhaps. Make sure you search for conferences and you're attending things. There's a lot of online things happening right now, so it's even easier and cheaper to go and to attend conferences. You want to make sure you present your research if you have that, and keep in touch with the people that you meet. A little tip about going to conferences: if you ever get people's business cards, once you know we're back in real life and meeting people in person, what you want to do is write on that business card how you met that person and anything important that you need to know, like if you're going to send them your resume or anything of that nature. Because when you start to attend conferences, it's just so much, and you just get so many business cards from so many people, right? And you want to make sure that you keep it all organized and you do follow up with everybody. The next thing is that you want to talk with your faculty. Perhaps the faculty that you're the closest with isn't really the topic area that you want to go into for graduate school, and that's okay, because I guarantee you they probably know someone who knows someone, right, that is a little bit more familiar with your topic area. And then that's when we start to create this web of a network, even though it's offline. because then when you get to online, it then creates this web of networks and support for yourself, so that when you do start producing that media like we talked about, it starts to kind of bleed into the rest of your professional network. All right, so then doing this online, you want to join some professional media websites. So for those of you who your YouTube popped up first, you want to make sure that you're following some channels that aren't always personal, right? But are also professional. For those of you who have Twitter or your Facebook or whatever that social media was, you want to make sure that you're also sharing some professional pieces as well. So it's hard to push down social media because you use it all the time when you Google yourself, right? So the algorithm is that the more you're mentioned or the more you use it, the higher it becomes on the list, basically, in a very layman's term type of way. So what we want to do is start creating that content to push up more professional pieces and then push that social piece down just for right now, for when you're applying to places and trying to get a job, or if you're trying to get into graduate school or what have you. All right, so you want to search for connections to make online. So you know how awkward it is to like find people and do your little like searching for people and and say, I'm going to add you as a friend. So nobody cares about that in LinkedIn world. LinkedIn, they actually want you to find people and not just send them like the generic, hey, I'd like to be your connection type of message. Put in a very thoughtful message when you do try to connect with someone and say, hi, I've been looking up your research in blah, 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 and I wanted to connect with you on LinkedIn because I'm looking at graduate schools to apply to. Very short, simple, but direct and thoughtful. And that is something that will actually get someone to want to reply back to you. So that is what a professional learning network does, is those thoughtful connections that you want to make. And then the last piece is that you want to manage your brand. So when you send those thoughtful connections and invitations, you also want to pay attention and update your profiles and make sure your resume and CV are updated at least once a semester, if not at least once a year. That is like the bare minimum, at least once a year. All right, so here's another time that I'd love for you guys to go ahead and unmute yourself if you'd like to answer, or put in the chat. How do you start to build your online academic portfolio? What do you all think? And there are no wrong answers, by the way. Or how about we try this? How would you start? What would be the easiest way for you to start so far? Find connections on LinkedIn. Good. Actively do the searching instead of having them come to you, which I know is a little opposite from social media. Okay. Revise some posts on social media. That might be smart, especially depending on the content that you're putting out there. Maybe creating a website with Google Sites. Yeah, Alyssa, that's a great idea. Actively use your Reddit account. Yes. Yes. Good ideas, you all. And I'm glad that you're getting a few things out of here, out of this presentation. All right, I'm going to keep going. Okay, so what exactly do you showcase on an online portfolio? This is where we get into like the websites or the LinkedIns or anything of that nature. So we talked a little bit about it earlier because I wanted to give you kind of like a preview of what an online academic portfolio will look like. But basically, we want you to demonstrate or highlight anything in your academic career that you think an admissions committee would think is important. So part of understanding what is important to an admissions committee is attending something like a campus visit, like a Welcome Wednesday that we have going on this afternoon, right? Is also speaking with graduate school people before you're actually applying at maybe a grad fair. So when you start to talk to these people, to either the recruiters, the staff, the faculty from graduate schools, which we're able to give you from academic advancement programs, then you start to understand the types of pieces that you have that you can also showcase. So for example, it would be any type of academic experience or potential, like if you were a TA for a faculty member and it was a difficult class that you had to get an A in order to be able to be a teaching assistant, then you were an undergraduate teaching assistant. We want to see if you have any undergraduate research skills or writing skills, depending on your field, what would be important. For every field, basically, graduate school requires critical thinking skills. So how can you showcase in what you've already done or what you're planning to get done before you apply to graduate school to showcase critical thinking skills? The next is leadership and service and co-curricular activities. So again, it's not just enough to be like, oh yeah, I did this service trip, it was fun. but you want to reflect on it as well, right? So maybe add a picture and then a nice small paragraph about the reflection about what you've learned and how you're going to take that experience to help guide your perspective, your philosophy, your field in the next couple of years. You want to make sure to also showcase your creativity and initiative. Graduate schools like to see the fact that you're not kind of thinking inside this box, because those who look for higher learning are those who can see outside the greater box, and that's called creativity. And they want to see that you can take initiative, that if you don't know something, you're going to go out and you're going to ask for it. So setting up those times to meet with graduate staff members to ask questions like, what do you see in a great applicant in your program? That takes initiative. Just clicking connect and saying and sending those thoughtful messages on LinkedIn or something of that nature, that is also initiative. So we want to see those higher order thinking skills again, the evaluations, the analyses, a lab report, reflections, and any type of recommendations. All right, so then let's say you have all these things from classes, and you have projects, you have papers, you have all these things. So first what you want to do is just bring everything together and say, you know what, this paper that took all semester to write, I'm going to put that in a folder, right? This project from my capstone course, I'm going to put that into a folder. This lab report in Orgo 2 that I was super proud of myself on, and I revised afterwards because I wanted to make sure that I had the information down for the exam. I'm going to take that lab report and put it over here. Okay, so all these pieces you want to collate and start bringing them together and start putting them in pockets. Do you have a lot of research and not a lot of writing? Do you have a lot of projects but not a lot of writing, right? You want to strategically put them in places and then start to arrange them in a way that they make sense, because this will help later on. All right, so you want to collect artifacts like research, coursework projects, experiences, reflections on undergraduate research experiences, experiential learning, a time that you actually were able to visit a graduate school, or a time that you did a virtual graduate school visit, mentorship, leadership, informational interviews that you had with faculty or someone within your field, or any type of exploration that you did, especially if you're in an interdisciplinary study or looking into interdisciplinaries for a graduate program. You want to show almost your thought process of how you got from one place to the next. All right, so think about what those strengths that you want to showcase for your applications and how that will help you move forward. All right, do we have any questions before we go on? I'm throwing a lot at you all. Okay, if you do have any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat for us and we'll move forward from that. All right, so here we are. We're getting to the ePortfolio tools, Andy. So one of them is LinkedIn. Another one is called ResearchGate, which is basically a LinkedIn, but for research. A STARS repository, which is just UCF. There are blogs like WordPress. There are websites that you can create things like Weebly or Google Sites. There's actually a way to create an ePortfolio through Canvas for UCF or web courses for free. There's PortfolioGen and Squarespace, which some of them are paid, but there are a lot of free tools to be able to do this. All right, so this is an example of an ePortfolio And what I'm going to do actually is stop sharing so that I can click on something and open up what this ePortfolio looks like. Just bear with me for a second. My poor computer is like trying its hardest. It sounds like a plane getting ready to take off. There it is. All right, we're coming. Let's try this again. All right, so here's an example of a UCF Canvas ePortfolio. So you can see that there are tabs that are home, professional goals. And again, this is an example. This is not something that you all have to do. But there's professional goals, there's coursework, there's an internship experience outlined here with a reflection, remember? Professional memberships and awards, which looks a little, oh no, that's because the image is incorrect. A resume, and then contact information. So what I want you all to do is, while I'm going through all of these examples, I want you to make sure that you are taking note of what these websites look like and what the tabs are and how people have split things up, because that will kind of give you an idea as to how to group your documents and your artifacts like we talked about before. All right, so I'm gonna go next to the examples of website ePortfolios. And there are a few here. So for example, the ones that's pictured here is from Siri, and she's actually updated her website since then, or since I've taken the screenshot. So it doesn't look like this anymore, but this was hers when she was an undergrad, right? So we have home, about, my work, and contact. Very minimal, right? And at the very beginning, she says, hey, I'm this person, this is what I do. And then she goes into it a little bit more in her about me section, right? All right, we're gonna jump around again. Sorry for giving you guys this whiplash. All right, next, Priscilla. So Priscilla is a current undergraduate student, and this is her ePortfolio. She's got like a photographer and everything, right? I'm just kidding. She had someone take some pictures of her while she was just hanging out. All right, so she has her about me on her homepage. And then it kind of highlights a few things in each of her tabs here. So she has home, research, experience, work, and contact. So that's a few more tabs. And on her homepage, she kind of highlights a few things that are in each of these pages. Research experience. So she talks about the places and what the projects are that she kind of worked on for research experience, what she's done in the past. So she has some videos, she has some reflections, and she describes what she's done, right? So obviously this is fancy because Priscilla is amazing and this is what she does. So here's my second example, or my third example for a website. So they've used wix.com here. And this has been something that has been free for students to use, but take a look at Gillian's tabs here: home, interests, research, experience, mentoring, and contact and CV. So she has an image of her, she has who she is, and then we go straight into her interests. So if we look at her interests, we can see that it's human spaceflight and understanding biological stress on microgravity extraterrestrial environments. Interesting, right? Not my background, but she loves it. But it's very apparent as to what she's doing and what type of experiences she's had. And she has just a quick little like ditty of, this is what I did and this is what I've learned, right? All right, so going through some of those ePortfolios, go ahead and do me a favor and brainstorm what 3 to 6, I think 6 would be the max, tabs would you put on your type of ePortfolio? Go ahead and put that in the chat for us. What would those tabs be? So everyone's going to have a home page, right? If you were to create an ePortfolio website, what would those tabs be for you in your field? Brian, what would be the tabs for you?
Well, I currently have a home page, an about page, a little experiences / CV page, and like a more like personal like blog page, and then like a contact page as well.
Nice, nice. I see Alyssa says a home, a professional goals and interests, an experience, and a contact. Good, good. And Aiden says about research and publications, ongoing projects. That's a new one, and contact. Home, shadowing experience, coursework, and resume. Good, good. So no matter what the tabs look like, we want to make sure that you all always have your CV or resume that is, 1, updated, but 2, also linkable to a PDF while also writing it out on the page, right? You sometimes the best trick to do there is write out the most recent experiences and education pieces that you really want to highlight and make sure that people see. But then you also have a link to a PDF that someone can download your full resume or CV. Great. And then Jennifer says about education, research and publications. Whew, all of you with publications already? I can't. Experiences, goals, and contact. Good deal. Fantastic. All right. We're going to keep going. If I can find my share button again, we'll see. All right. So moving forward into STARS, the digital repository. So STARS is something that is taken care of through UCF's library, and it's a way for students to create their own, I guess, page to showcase their actual work. So what you'll see is that once you review the STARS repository, it will then come up and show in the STARS gallery your basic about me, which would basically be the same about me that you would put on your website if you were to do that. You would add your positions that you've had throughout the years, right? Whether it's research, a teaching assistant, an internship, service learning. Now here, this is just a very research-oriented person. And then you would have your curriculum vitae and then able to download it, or your resume and able to download it. So if you're going to do all this work to create an about me, update your resume, and make sure you have all the information for like your experiences and everything, why not put it on multiple platforms? So the more you'll have to start pushing up into where maybe you don't want your YouTube channel to be shown, right? I mean, and maybe you do more reflections on your YouTube channel and record that and have a vlog, and that can be a part of your professional portfolio. Whoop. Oh, it's not found anymore. That's all right. All right. Oh, goodness gracious. All right, so here's the next piece, and I know you guys can't see this, but that's because I have to make sure that my technology is working correctly. So the next piece that you can actually do is work on a digital story. So remember how we consume things all the time, and we had talked about YouTube a little bit and adding a vlog. You can create a digital story that describes your academic progress and how you came to understand that where you want to be for graduate school is actually what you want to be doing for your career, right? So for example, we have Leanne here who created a digital story. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to play this for you. I might play a little bit for you, but if you want to watch the whole thing, what I'll do is copy and paste the URL and put it in the chat. Okay.
Before I started college, I didn't really know what research was. I always thought really smart people were researchers, not regular people like me. But I learned that what is equally as important is having passion and dedication to a particular field. As a freshman, I had the opportunity to participate in the Learn program at UCF. During this time, I learned the fundamentals of research, like how to conduct a literature review, collect and analyze data, and present complex information.
All right, so just from the first 30 seconds of that video, she has shown that she is dedicated. She is a hard worker. She is going to get to her end goal no matter what. And she showcased some critical skills that she's gotten through just one program, right? So when you're creating these examples or a video or anything of that nature, what you're doing is that the most important message to get across is what you've gotten out of the experiences, not that you've done that experience, right? Because anybody can just do the experience. That's not an issue. The real key there and what you want to communicate and articulate within any type of media, whether it's a website, LinkedIn, what have you, is your reflection and what you've gotten. So I'm trying my hardest to copy and paste YouTube thing. Okay, there you go. So if you want to watch it on your own time, then please feel free to do so. I would be happy if we got some more views on that, and Leanne would like that. Leanne's actually a current graduate student, PhD student at University of Colorado Boulder. So apparently something worked, right? And then the next piece that you can also do is create a story map. And we're gonna try our hardest to see if this will work. Brian, can you see the browser? No? Okay. Sorry, guys. Zoom is making life a little difficult today. Just going back and forth. All right, so this is a story map. ArcGIS is actually something free that UCF students can use and let people create their own story map. So this is Priscilla's story. You saw Priscilla earlier, so you know she's amazing at like visuals, right? And then she says, "Who am I?" And she gives a little bit of information, some visuals that she found, some information about where she came from and what that means to her. And this is really where it gets to her identity. So again, this is just another piece of media in order to add into who you are as a story. But she worked on putting this together in order to showcase where she came from and where she wants to go. So this is now her UCF. Ooh, pretty. It shows what types of opportunities that she's done and some information and some experiences that she's had, along with what she's currently working on, some extracurricular activities and what that means to her. So this is arcgis.com. And you can look for this by searching ArcGIS and UCF to figure out how to create an account, a free account for yourself. All right. So that is what a story map could be. All right. All right. I'm gonna share again with the presentation. Okay, so for those of you who are interested in storytelling, there are some free tools that you can go ahead and create something kind of like what Leanne did and put on YouTube. So obviously there's TikTok, and if you use TikTok in a way that is more academic and a way to tell your story, then that is what kind of brings that professional and that critical thinking and that storytelling piece to it. So there is a way to use it, just like there's a way to use Snapchat. You saw that Leanne created something with Bitmojis. You could use Voki, Animoto, Beyond. And again, going back to the vlog idea from YouTube, there are numerous ways. So the whole point of telling your story is that you have a beginning that introduces things. You have a middle that is kind of like the climax, as to when you understood that this is what you wanted to do for your career. And then you have a resolution where you know where you're going to go and this is what you want to be doing. So there's always a difficult part of the story and then a resolution once you get here, and then how you're getting to where you are now. And that little story mapping as a concept is something that's very normal that people use in storytelling tools. All right, so once, let's say you've done all this work, you've put together your website, you've updated your LinkedIn, you've put together your STARS repository, and you've created a ResearchGate opportunity. What you then want to do is start linking them together and creating this web of an ePortfolio, right? Because this is what an academic portfolio is, and this is what a professional learning network looks like, is that web of support that you're linking from LinkedIn to your vlog on YouTube. You're then putting your website on your LinkedIn. You're then taking your LinkedIn and putting it on your website. And you're just kind of cross-linking everything so that once someone finds one thing, they will then see all the other things that are amazing. Which again, for that algorithm in Google will then put some more important things up on top, the more you start adding pieces of media somewhere on each piece. All right, the other piece is that if you can start getting your name on official websites like the Academic Advancement Program's website, if your name can then be put in writing on a research lab website, then those pieces are really professional, and that's something that you don't really have to keep up, right? It's someone else's website, but it showcases that you've worked hard on a summer research project and your name is on there, so we've given you access for that. The next pieces are, you want to make sure that you start kind of reflecting on things and putting your personal statements together. When you start reflecting on experiences, that personal statement is actually where you can pull those reflections from. If you've already done the reflections and put them on your website or put it on LinkedIn or put it on somewhere, then you can just pull from that information when it is time to start on your personal statements. All right, you all. So that is all I have for ePortfolio. What I want to do is then have a conversation now to see what are you all thinking? What questions do you have about creating your academic portfolio? We're kind of here to then now just brainstorm for everybody. So go ahead and you can turn on your videos if you'd like. What I'll do is that I'll stop the recording.